So at this time, we're going to we're going to play a little bit about House of Refuge outreach and some of the work that we have done. House of Refuge has been operating in this building since December of 2020. We have been doing our outreach ministry since 2005. And so we are very aware of the insecurities around hunger. And our goal is to ensure, as our sign says, that no child should go hungry. In no aspect should children ever be without food. But we understand that during this tragic time and the times that we live in, that some children are going to bed hungry. And we want to ensure that we're able to stop that from happening. So we are endeavored to continue on this fight and to join with you and to join with others as we continue to ensure that no child goes to bed hungry. Last year in 2020, when we were hit with the pandemic, we were hit with the unrest after the George Floyd murder, we were feeding probably 1,000 families per week. And we started figuring out there are different barriers.
I had always been somebody who showed up at events maybe on a day in and day out, and that really made me part of the community.
During this COVID time, it's really hard to get what you need. A lot of people have lost jobs. You know, you have to make decisions of you're going to buy food or you're going to pay a bill. So this way you don't have to make that decision.
When I find out they're giving away free stuff, I come get, what I can, and then I go to some of the older folks' homes, and I put it out in the hallway for them.
As a suit store, we have accumulated a lot of inventory over the years, and we were wanting to kind of downsize a bit, but we wanted to do something good.
My good friend over at Knight's Chamber, he reached out to me and said, "Hey, Daenerys, I got 150 suits. I'm looking to give out. What can I do with it?" And so we had just started working alongside Sarah and Ross over here at the House of Refuge outreach, and we were like, "Hey, let's do something cool together. We can collaborate. You're giving out food. We have these suits. Let's see what we can do with it."
Coming to get a suit. I know I probably hang the suit in the closet because I never get an interview for a job.
There's no excuse for children to ever go hungry in this country. Yet it happens every day and in every community. According to latest estimates, as many as 13 million children are going hungry, and they're living in homes that are called food insecure homes. That means those households do not have enough food for every family member that resides there. Hunger is a problem that mostly affects children in low-income families, especially our children of color. The 2020 Federal Poverty Guidelines estimates that $26,200 should be for a family of 4, and that's poverty level. Even if you make twice that income, you will still be considered under the poverty guidelines, and many seem to continue to struggle to even make ends meet. Over 34 million people, or 10.5% of all Americans, are living in poverty. Of those, 12 million are children. And of the 12 million, over 84% of them are children of color. It is proven that students who eat a healthy, nutritious breakfast are better able to focus on their academics. Coming from an educational background, we noticed in schools there were a lot of children that were coming to school hungry. And we're telling them to learn, to learn, to learn. But we never took a step back to realize the reason they had these behavior issues or low attention was not because they wanted to have the bad behavior, it was because they were hungry. Children who eat breakfast achieve 22.5% higher on math test scores, and 28% are more likely to graduate from high school. Children need to receive free, nutritious, and culturally specific breakfasts and lunch every day while they're in school. Children need nutrition in order to learn and grow physically and cognitive. There are negative things that happen around hunger. As I said, we had children who had low attendance, poor concentration, behavior problems, and the educational underachievement. If we are ever to close the different gaps, the achievement gap, the belief gap, we must first address hunger in our children. The invisible hunger, I gotta take this off, I can't see. The invisible hunger, it invades our school, it preys on children, it destroys families, and it tears communities apart. You can't see it by looking. The victims are Black, white, Asian, and Hispanic. You can't measure it in pounds. It affects short and tall, thin and chubby. You can't see it, but it lives right next door. The problem is hunger. A shameful, unthinkable hunger. Child hunger in the wealthiest nation in the world. On any given night, 13 million children in America will go to bed wondering if they will eat in the morning. If we were on a playground and we had 6 children on that playground, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, hunger. That 6th child would be hungry. The invisible hunger is everywhere. No child should grow up hungry. And House of Refuge wants to continue to connect families with food. House of Refuge finds the invisible hunger wherever it hides. We are feeding over 1,000 families every week, over 3,000 children every day. We surround those children with food where they live, learn, and play. We're weaving a net to ensure no kid in Minnesota will go hungry. Poverty is complex. Feeding a child should not be. Everyone has strength, and everyone has something to share. Whether you're a chef, you're a Fortune 500 company, a volunteer, or everyday Americans, we all need to care. It's time for us all to roll up our sleeves and to put an end to childhood hunger. Our goal would be House of Refuge would love to be a sponsor organization for Minnesota Department of Education. And in doing so, to ensure fidelity of the program, we have 4 divisions. We have a division of compliance, a division of transportation, vendor relations, and distributors. House of Refuge plans to change the trajectory of our children and help end childhood hunger by getting more nutritious meals into the schools, provide nutritious meals in the evening for children at home, educate families with low income on how to use their food budgets to make healthy meals at home, and spread awareness in the community around childhood hunger. If we all fight together, we can all win together. Thank you. We have a lot of partners out in the audience today, and we're just grateful for the partnerships with everyone that we have. This thing will not be done by itself. It takes all of us working together and collectively so that we can end child hunger. And so I'm just encouraging us all to work hard, work together, and stay strong in the fight. We know that our Black and brown children are mostly affected with not having the right meals, and so we want to ensure that we have the right meals for our children. We're meeting all the nutritious guidelines, and that we can ensure that our children will not only be at grade level, but they would be grade levels ahead, and hunger would not be the barrier that causes them not to meet that goal. So I am excited about continuing in this fight. I'm excited about the families that we meet on a daily basis. I'm excited about all the partners that we see on a daily basis. And we want to continue to ensure that the fidelity of everything that we do meets the standards and above. We want those gold standard marks to say they're doing it and they're doing it right. So I'm excited about today. I'm excited that you're here, and at this time I'm going to ask Ahmed to come. He works within compliance, and he's going to talk briefly about an app that we will have created for this very thing. Let's give him a hand.
Thanks, Sharon. I'd like to thank the Senator and members of the Department of Education being here today, and members in the community. I met Sharon not too long ago, and when I met, I found somebody who really cares people, somebody who really wants to uplift communities that are left behind. Children who need to get educated but don't have food to eat. So my background is technology. I'm a technologist, and I have a nonprofit organization that helps children understand science and technology, and because of that, I came to Sharon, and Sharon just wanted me, because of my knowledge, to help also work with the compliance with her in that setting. So she wanted me to be the compliance officer, and I will make sure that those organizations that have good intention to deliver food to the right people at the right time follow the guidelines set by the Department of Education, and also follow this organization, House of Refuge, requirements. So that's what I'm going to work on, and I'm glad to be here today and to be part of this. Thank you.
Senator Sandra Babos has to leave sometime soon. According to her message to me, she's busy, and I would like her to say something before she runs away.
Thank you so much, Jamal, for remembering my text message. And unfortunately, I can't stay with you for lunch, but I do want to just express my support and my enthusiasm for the House of Refuge work, and especially for the work that Sharon and Jamal and all the volunteers and all the contributors provide to this great effort. It takes a lot of work to feed 1,000 people every day, and you saw in the video the line of people who are coming here to get food because, as Sharon mentioned, the wealthiest country in the world, Minnesota, is also a very wealthy state, and yet we still have food insecurity. So it's kind of a basic thing that children can't learn if they're hungry. And so, I hope that this partnership would work out with the Department of Education, and I know that House of Refuge has many other partners in the community and many volunteers. I've seen them when I've been here before. So thank you very much for inviting me, and I just apologize again that I can't stay longer.
This time I'm going to ask Reverend Daryl Spence to come up from the God Squad in Ramsey County Sheriff's Office.
Hello, everyone. First of all, sorry for my tardiness. I'm at work. That's strange. Listen, I want to just stand and thank each one of you for whatever role you have played to this point. When Sharon, who I've known for too many years, came to St. Paul, it was like a regroup. Unfortunately, her uncle passed, and we traveled down to his funeral. Me and Sharon reconnected. She told me she was coming to St. Paul. You know, if you know Reverend Spence, I'm the same guy. St. Paul is my heartbeat, my throb. But when she got here and began to do the work, all of my friends know that Omar, I'm not a worker. I'll find somebody to do the work. But unfortunately, there's not a lot of people who wanted to be boots on the ground in this building. So I found myself helping. Now I'm here more than I'm home. So I know that what I have seen Sharon do in this building with the few people that she has, this is going to help St. Paul. I love St. Paul. I'm St. Paul everything. The God Squad, 25 years. Ramsey County Sheriff for the last 2-3 years. I want to stand in full support without any hesitation for the House of Refuge. The House of Refuge has the right idea. It's got the right leadership, and it has found the right partnership in you. That when it's all over, said and done, not one of us can take the glory. I'm an old Baptist preacher. I'm going to tell you where the glory will come from. I'm here to tell you that no matter what you stand on, what you stand for, when you are doing right for our families and children, you can't go wrong. Our families are struggling. Our families are hurting all over the state, all over the world. But if we would begin at home, we can't begin in the prison system. We can't even begin in the school system. We have to begin at home. If I get up in the morning, eat a good meal, get myself healthy, when I get to the teacher, I'm not angry, I'm not upset. We make jokes about being hangry. You send your kids to school without breakfast or lunch. You know they're upset because you didn't eat. You're upset. This is the idea that Sharon is walking on, that we're going to leave no child behind. That was an old saying, leave no child behind. How are the children? Sharon is now answering that because she is willing to step up, put herself out in front and say, I will go for the children. If you have any way of helping House of Refuge, I beg you, because number one, I want to stop working. I be tired in the morning. I want to stop having to carry boxes of meat. I see you, Leah. We need to get to a point where we can get some people in here, some young folks, get them jobs, get them working. That's how I'm going to be able to stop doing 21 days of peace on the corner trying to keep our children from shooting, killing, or carjacking one of you. We need your help. Please. Please, I'm never too old to beg. Please, help us, help our children. Help us, help our families. Sharon, thank you for all you do. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
At this time, I'm going to ask Monica Herrera and Emily Lucas if they would come. Emily Honer, I'm sorry. Emily Lucas, I was getting your name mixed up with hers.
Ellie Lucas, will you join them on the stage? And because this is MDE explaining some basic information about summer food program and others that are coming. And this is community trust conversation building. We are having a dialogue. So Monica, okay.
Well, hello, and thank you for inviting us. One thing I have learned already is never follow Sharon in a presentation time, because it's very intimidating. You were awesome. Thank you. So Emily and I are just really going to cover a broad range of information about nutrition programs that we administer at the Department of Education. So Emily just handed out a little handout that we wanted to make sure so we could follow along, just because we didn't want to overwhelm people, because we're government, so we have lots of information, and sometimes we can get caught up in our own words, so wanted to keep it simple. And we have every intention of sticking around and listening to your questions and being able to address whatever else you need from us. So we thought we would just start with a quick overview. And I want to start, and then I'm going to turn it over to Emily. I want to start by following up with what Sharon said, is if you look at the second slide here on the first sheet, and you look at all of our nutrition programs, we have a lot of them. We're going to focus a chunk of our presentation on the summer food program because it's going on right now, but we have a lot of programs. But one of the things that all of our programs have through the Department of Education is that they all focus on supporting education enrichment. So we have a school nutrition program because kids need to learn while they're in school. We have an at-risk supper program because some kids do things after school, which they also need nutritious meals. We have a summer food program because kids need to also be fed when schools are not in session. But the common link between all of our programs is that we work with organizations. We don't provide the meals ourselves. We work with you, with community, with organizations, whether you're a nonprofit, whether you're a public institution like a library or a park and rec board, to provide those meals, but as a companion piece to kids trying to learn, trying to get education enrichment, at minimum trying to get healthy physical activity that we know we have to keep their bodies. We have to keep their bodies healthy, so we believe in the whole child. So that's what our programs do, and we want to differentiate that versus what like the Department of Human Services does in terms of a SNAP program or food shelf program, that that nutrition, that food goes directly to the individuals, and that in the Department of Education, we just work with organizations. So I think that's kind of the first big piece we clarify. But again, thanks for inviting us, Omar and Sharon. This is an amazing facility, by the way. And so I will turn it over to Emily, and then Ellie will join us when we start talking about some tools and resources everybody should have access to. And then we do want to spend time hearing your questions, and we'll have that at the end. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. It is definitely difficult to follow up such inspirational, wonderful presentations with rules. But we're going to make it fun, we're going to make it basic, just to kind of give you the overview of that summer food program. And then just to reiterate what Monica said, there's lots of programs, and we definitely hear you when you say your goals is to become a sponsor. I think that there are so many programs out there, we can make that work. But also, there's other programs too outside of MDE to help the really good things that are going on. So I'm confident that there's always something out there. I'm going to start on page 2, so if you want to flip your sheet, and we'll just get right on into it. So on this top slide, and you're going to see the arrows going down, and this is our basic structure of child nutrition programs at MDE. So our child nutrition programs, they come from the USDA. So these are all federally funded programs. And then the USDA signs agreements with states, and so that's where you're going to see the second box there. That's Minnesota Department of Education. And then the third box is the Minnesota Department of Education, which runs, again, just a few of the child nutrition programs, not all of them. But we then sign agreements with sponsors. And a sponsor signs up to operate one, possibly more than one, of the child nutrition programs, and actually is those boots on the ground, making sure that the sites are operating, serving nutritious meals to children, making sure that that enrichment activity is partnered with. So the sponsors are really, really important. And then just in between those boxes, we gave you an example. So you can see USDA, Minnesota Department of Education, nonprofits, and then those educational programs at the bottom there. And then on that second slide, this is really just that general, if we had to pare down the summer food service program in one sentence, what would it be? And it would be meal reimbursement to organizations providing educational enrichment youth programs. And youth is defined as 18 and under in this conversation and in our programs. So that's kind of like our one sentence, here's what the summer food program is. If you turn the page, and on the top of the page, you're going to see that red circle with the X, but on the bottom of the page, you're going to see the smiley face. So what I'm going to go through, and again, pretty basic, these are the bullet points, but I'm going to go through what the summer food program is not, and then I'm going to go through what the summer food program can do, and hopefully that clears up any confusion that might be out there on the summer food program. So 4 items that the summer food program is not. The first one is that the summer food program cannot feed adults. The second bullet point is that the summer food program cannot create competition between schools and communities. And this is really important. We want to work with our schools, right? Just how we heard Sharon talk about working with the schools, making sure that we have nutritious meals and that we can supplement when needed. So that's really important to these programs. The third bullet point of what the summer food is not is that the summer food cannot provide more than 2 meals each day per youth. That doesn't mean that we can't partner up, but a site needs to provide only 2 meals per day. And then lastly, what the summer food program cannot provide groceries, right? And you'll hear us say this a few times, and we've said this a couple times already, is about meals, right? We're looking at meals that a child can easily grab, take home, and then easily eat, because that's where we want to get that food straight from our site to the child ready to eat. So now on to the fun slide with the smiley face, and this is what the summer food program is. So the summer food program is ready to eat, age-appropriate meals for youth. It is healthy meals. It is established organizations that's able to get these meals out. It's that funds are kept in a separate account, right? So we want to make sure that this is a nonprofit food service, that those funds being reimbursed for the meals are staying with our children. The summer food program is for the summer months while the kids are not in school, for low-income areas, and 2 meals per youth. All right, so I'm going to flip to the next page here. And again, we have so many rules and resources. I think I was talking about the overwhelming website. So just a few slides. This is really big for us to only have a few slides. On this next page, though, and the top slide should be what is PEBT, or did you know about PEBT? We definitely want to get the word out about PEBT. This is a program that the USDA implemented in response to COVID-19 because we knew that there were going to be barriers. The USDA knew that there was going to be barriers to getting those meals out to children with COVID-19. So the USDA has the PEBT program. And then here in Minnesota, the Minnesota Department of Education partnered with the Department of Human Services, and we are able to get money out in the form of those EBT cards for children during the summer months. So this is really important. If you don't know about this, definitely come and find us here after this today. We're going to give you some information about it. Contact your school. The schools did a wonderful job getting this together. We got technology developed in record-breaking time to get this money out. So if you don't know about PEBT, definitely take a look at that as well. And PEBT provides cash benefits to the free and reduced eligible children through the summer. So again, and I think the amount is $340. So it's a good amount to help bridge that gap. And then my last slide here, because really the last slide is just our contact information. So the last slide that I want to talk about the basics of the summer food program, is if you want to know what you can do, right? In addition to helping out House of Refuge and volunteering and anything else you can do in your community, if you want to know what you can do for the summer food program, here's 4 wonderful ways that you can help the summer food program. So definitely point youth, so that's again 18 and under, so point your youth to existing sites. Tell them where to find food. Tell them where those meal sites are operating for those healthy, nutritious meals. Promote where meals are being distributed. So promote House of Refuge and this meal site, right? A fun fact is that in Minnesota, and this was taken a couple weeks ago, so it's probably more than this, but in Minnesota, there are 2,316 summer food service sites in Minnesota. That's amazing. That's wonderful. So promote those sites. Help out those sites. And then lastly, we have a really wonderful resource, the Summer Eats app, free food for kids. And this is where I'm going to turn it over to Ellie Lucas right now, because the Free Food for Kids app points children to those meal sites so that you don't have to go through our website, you don't have to go through the USDA website. You can find those sites really easily on your phone. So I'm going to pass it over to Ellie. Monica and I's contact information is that last blue slide. Again, we're going to be here for a while too, so feel free to come up to us.
Ellie? Thank you.
Hi, everybody. It's nice to be here. One more talking head. I wanted to share with you the Free Meals for Kids mobile app, and it's on my phone. I'm going to see how this presents when I show it to you, so that you can see the icon. It's the state of Minnesota. It looks like this. We created this back in 2016 to be a platform to help families that were trying to find meals for kids. So it's right at your fingertips. And this mobile app just lists free sites. So there are 3 levels of sites. You can operate a restricted site, you can operate an open restricted site, or a free meal site. And what we have here is the free meal sites and all of those locations. And to Monica and Emily's point, it's about 1,300 different sites across the state. So you can see the sites, where they're located, what meals they're offering, and when they're offering them. And the reason that we did this, and frankly, we're the first in the nation to have something like this, was so that people could source these meals very quickly. If you were out and about and you had 5 or 6 kids in the car and you needed to feed them, but you didn't have money in your wallet, you could easily, through this app that you would download on your phone, locate a meal site so that you could show up and get meals for your kids. Again, this is really focused on kids 18 and younger, and we have some sites where they have specific toddler meals and different things, but you can also see the meals that are being offered. In some cases, people have provided menus and those kinds of things. So the most critical piece in all of this is we rely on the Minnesota Department of Ed, who relies on the sponsors to provide the accurate information of when you're serving meals, because we're intending to drive more participation in community. So when that information is then provided to MDE, we download or upload that information to this app that says this is when the meals are being provided. So if you are currently sponsoring meals in community, make sure that the information is accurate and download it on the app. We have about 50,000 downloads, and we average somewhere between 20 to 30 page views, mostly concentrating on sites. The other information, MDE talked about the PEBT. We have contact information on this app as well about that, as well as additional resources. So you may be familiar with an organization that also does meals. It's called Every Meal. They do a backpack program. We list all the sites where they do free meal deliveries as well, and we're more than happy to include any other organizations that are trying to reach families. But predominantly, this mobile app is the primary resource to connect people via communications tool. So please download it, please share it with everybody. We work with schools and social workers and community health organizations, clinics, WIC clinics, and just encourage everybody to have access to this technology. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Was that the handouts is the MDE newsletter?
So we brought a copy of our last summer food special edition, our bulletin, which really all of our sponsors and sites should sign up for, and we distribute at least twice a month. We send out a bulletin, so you would register, and in the last page of that, it shows how you can subscribe to the bulletin. But we also, any timely, any breaking news, that's our primary form of communication for all of our programs. So you can register and get summer food program, our child and adult care program, the at-risk program, school programs. You would be able to get information on all of our nutrition services. So highly encourage. I think we have about 4,000 people that subscribe to it on a regular basis. And basically what happens is you get an email with the link that says we have a new bulletin, and then it goes right to your email account. So it really is the best way to receive timely communication. And we just brought a copy of one of the last bulletins on the summer food program. So I don't know if we have enough copies, but okay.
Thank you, because I knew Hannah, we knew that we had MDE newsletter. Okay, can you give this out? Also, we have here, I hope you know them, Cisco. Cisco is here. They've been very helpful in this program, working with the community, and I would like them to say a few words.
Sure. Hi, my name is Lisa Olson. I am a sales manager for Cisco, Minnesota. During COVID, we have partnered with a lot of these community feeding programs, distributing the food that they need. Obviously, during COVID, it exploded. We worked closely with a lot of people here to bring in enough food to cover their needs. We did go through some challenges when some of these programs were shut down. We worked closely with them to bring in the appropriate amount to feed the communities that they have, the numbers of people that they have, the meals that they have to do each week. And the struggles that we did have when a few of these programs were shut down, the Cisco and the communities were stuck with a lot of the products with nothing to do with it. So we look forward to partnering with you guys moving forward. We have the ability we have enough product, we're able to source enough product to help all of you out with feeding, so you can contact myself, or Margaret's been heavily involved with many of you throughout this whole process, so we look forward to partnering with you in the future. Thank you. Want to say anything? Go ahead.
Thank you very much, and I'm multitasking here. Also, before we go into the question and answers, I would like to invite Mursal from U.S. Halal Foods. It is a new wholesale food center owned and run by the Somalis. So I would like Mursal to welcome and say a few words.
Thank you so much, and it's very pleasure for me to participate in this meeting, and also with the MDA. I was working with the MDA a lot of time. I mean, the Chenet and other. Also, we invited our warehouse too, and also we working with other big food services like Cisco's or other Upper Lakes, and we've been working during the community during the COVID-19 and really, I see the bulletin, but I have question with the MDA. There is kind of a little bit confusion for the community. The meal pattern, because of a lot of community, when they come with you, they say, oh, we need that one, that. Is there any specific meal pattern for the MDE? Says, okay, this is the, I know that during the COVID there is a gap. We supply schools even though, but the schools they've been working these programs for a long time. They know what they're serving, they know what they're doing, and also some communities they know what they're doing, but there's like, I can say 5% they don't know what they're doing, especially some people that new organization, is there any, you guys meal pattern says like, what I'm saying is like, there's a shelf-stable food and also hot meal too. Hot meal is, I'm sure 100% they know what they serve in the hot meal. They know the vegetable and everything. Is there any shelf-stable, the meal pattern so that MDE can explain them, hey guys, this is what you guys serve, this is what you guys serve. That's my question.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah, so I am not a dietitian or a nutritionist, so I can't recite it, but I can tell you there is a specific meal pattern for each of our programs. So the summer food meal pattern, you can find it in regulation because MDE didn't develop it, we follow it from the USDA. And then we have a couple resources on our website. So we have examples of the menu, we have the meal pattern, and we also have a couple training videos of how to make that meal pattern work. As far as shelf-stable versus hot meals, the meal pattern stays the same, but of course it's going to look different because it's packaged differently. So.
Ellie? Oh, I'm sorry. So, let me bring you back to the app again.
Okay.
Okay, so if you look at this app and you click on this page, right here it says food options. If you can hold this, I can do it. If you click food options, it'll tell you what your options are for breakfast. It'll tell you what your options are for lunch, all the meal patterns and the proportions. So it's 1 cup of rice or 1 cup of grains or whatever it is. It's all specified right here. As an example, same thing with the snack, so you can do any one of these at your fingertips. Follow any sort of a meal pattern for your menus. So it streamlines it from looking at regulations to just look here.
Is this app any organization? Can they upload their menu?
Yeah.
Do they have all?
You can, if you wanted to put the menu on, if you wanted to put the menu on here for an organization specifically. So like if one of your sites, I mean, this is what we tried to do with this. This is the site information.
Download that.
This is free. It doesn't take up a lot of space on your phone. You click on the serving site, and so, for example, the closest serving site right here is the West Minnehaha Recreation Center. It'll tell you what days they're serving meals, and what times. Looks like this. Then you click on that, and it'll present all detailed information there, and then there's also this little button up here, specific to that site. So you can actually get any information that you want at your fingertips.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And the question, and a lot of community have this question is, and also we even given them. Chenny, she helped us. The meal pattern, and every customer or every community, we provide them. But we use the old version last year. I don't know. I think I will get it if I go to the mda.com website. And we want to welcome our US Halal Foods. We opened it, we used to be in 28, but right now we moved to 29, 2nd Street in Minneapolis, with 60,000 square feet, which we have, especially our specific is halal meal because of some, it's like, it's a religious, even the kosher with the Jewish, and even the thing that, one of the biggest reasons that we opened in US Halal Foods is like, everybody's making the halal sticker, Even if you go, other food services, they serving with a book says halal satisfied. How is that going to be possible? So I don't know. So thank you so much, and we welcome our store, US Halal Foods.
Questions and answers with MDE, and there is also, like we said, September 21st. There's a big conference coming up, and in between, maybe there will be more conversation. This dialogue and conversation will continue. And also with us today, we have one of my friends, longtime friends. He's considered to be a member of the community. He practiced law in Minneapolis. He's not wearing his attorney hat today. He's just coming here as a regular citizen. His name is Michael Kane. Sometimes we fight, but we get along at the end of the day. So Michael, can you?
Thank you, Omar. And thank you very much. I think I have a question or two for the representatives from the Department of Education. Over the past couple of months, of course, everything COVID complicated, but represent Hannah in her a number of business ventures, and we came across a situation where she had some problems with relationships with a sponsor. And as we were trying to navigate through the kind of the high stakes because of all of the money and effort that she had put into operating a site or being a vendor, asking what is the best way to communicate with the Department of Education kind of on the fly. We took steps to try to call everybody that we possibly could find on the internet, as well as making a trip down to the Department of Education location, only, of course, to find out that nobody was there. And so when tensions are running high, and there's a lot of questions, what is the best possible way to get in touch with somebody who can actually provide answers to somebody like Hannah, who is working extremely hard to provide these meals, and something happened that was completely out of her control, and now she is left wondering, what can we do? How can we survive? How can we bridge the gap between a provider and the Department of Education?
Thank you. And Monica, as you can see, can you come up? Yeah.
Do you guys want us to take questions and then respond, or do you want us to respond one at a time?
One at a time. But I want to tell you that it looks like it is an information crisis. People don't know where to go and where to ask questions. They're stuck, they're confused. And once that happens, the individuals are sometimes prone to do mistakes because they don't know how to do and they don't know what to ask. So, in follow-up to Mike's question.
Sure. So you asked like 3 or 4 questions in that one question. So I can give you general rule of thumb answers. The individual specific ones, I would say call me or call Emily directly because we're not going to cover that in a big group. In general, when a site has a question with their sponsor, we always say talk to your sponsor first, because the legal relationship, the program relationship is between the site and the sponsor, not directly with MDE. So we are limited. We can provide information, we can provide assistance, we can point to resources, but we always say, because a site can switch sponsors at any time, if there's something not working in that relationship, a site can choose another sponsor. So that's where it's difficult when whatever happens, and it's all going to be different case by case. So again, call, and most of you, because I would recognize a lot of your names because you email me all the time. So I think people do that naturally. COVID did cause tons of confusion. We were given guidance by the federal government to say this, and then we sent out information, and then a month later, the federal government came back and said, oh, we changed our minds. You have to do this. So then there were a number of sites, a number of sponsors that were trying to start programs that got caught up in this limbo of, well, wait a minute, this was it, and then the rules changed. So I think that's part of what COVID caused, in a lot of confusion, a lot of information that was not timely, as well as information that changed midstream. So that's part of what we're trying to catch up on. That's part of what we're trying to clarify. And also that we also know that when these waivers are over, much of that goes away. So even if we figure it out for today, we can tell you that for summer food, when the summer food program ends in September of this year, there are some things that are going away. So I think that's the complicated nature And we know a lot of sites and sponsors got caught in uncomfortable positions. We were caught in uncomfortable positions because we were limited by what we can do, and we have to go through USDA to get permission to do some things. So I know that's a really long answer, but I hope that addresses, again, if you have a specific question, and Omar calls me religiously almost every day, so I know you have my phone number. So I know where she lives too. So I do think calling Emily is our supervisor who manages all the applications and making sure all the paperwork is right. So if it's a really technical question, Emily is in charge of it. If it's a question more about, a USDA regulation or there's an issue with it, then that's something I would take back to the federal government. So that's my role. I get to advocate. Yeah.
I guess I would just say that as far as an agenda item for this September a big conference, I think it would be extremely helpful to have kind of maybe a troubleshooting portion where you could explain the nature of the relationship between the site and the sponsor, and maybe give direction about what you said, how you could, and I think there was some confusion about this idea that you could change sponsors when you wanted to, and trying to navigate through the website that's got the maps where you're looking for the sponsor and all of that. And so I think it would be really helpful for the prospective sites to know that although they are taking a risk, there might be some ways to shift the burden if things aren't working out with a particular relationship. So thank you.
Here, why don't you do that one? You know where it is.
I just also wanted to say that if you're not necessarily sure where to go with your question, on our MDE website, even though we have a lot of pages on our website, on the one left-hand side, I believe, is a Contact Us link. And we recently updated that. Before we would just have an email there, but now we have an actual link where it kind of guides you on what to fill out, so that it will also help us, one, it more promptly gets to us, and we know better how to, direct it. So just the Contact Us section is always really helpful too if you don't know where to go.
Yeah, I think part of the thing for all the programs we manage, just for the summer food, as Emily said, we have 2,300 sites. And in total, if you add school nutrition, CACFP, we're close to over 7,000 sites around the state that we have to build relationship with and keep up to date and communicate. So I will tell you up front, it's a challenge, and I will tell you up front that things can get lost depending on where you get communication and if we have your direct connection and email and name. So it is a constant challenge. So I think anything we can do to help streamline some of those key pieces, I think is very helpful. So thanks, Michael.
Anybody with a quick question? Hi, Mursal.
My question is, as we know that we have two major sponsors in the state, and for them, that those two organizations, they affect to the community. I mean, there is also we know that there is a competition for them. They take in sites and go in that site, and I don't know. Is there any way, applying a sponsorship is taking time, and I know MDE cannot, if 7,000 sponsors, MDE cannot afford that. It's very hard for them to, take their cases, whatever. But is there any way MDE, because my question is here, there is a gap between MDE and sponsors through those major sponsors. Is there any way that MDE can remove those and have great direct relationship with the community, give them sponsorship and then apply? I know one of the biggest challenges the community the process is as far as I know that the process is taking some time. So is there any way MDE can remove that gap?
The easy answer is no. Mostly because we have a legal contract program agreement with the United States Department of Agriculture that says we must follow these rules. And we have a book this thick of rules that we have to follow. And there are a lot of rules that we have to follow to assure a new sponsor coming into our programs does all these things. And until they do all these things, we can't approve them. So, but that's not to say that we will not work with anybody who is interested in becoming a sponsor, and there are certain different levels of sponsors. So you can become a sponsor of one site, your own organization, that's perfect. So there's certain things that have to be done there. You can become a sponsor and have multiple sites and say, hey, there's like 6 sites that I'm going to become the sponsor, but we're going to serve food at these different sites. And that's called a multi-site, an affiliated sponsor. A lot more rules. So when you do that, a lot more obligations, a lot more expectations of what you have to do. Or you can just be a site. You can have a sponsor that you say, I don't want to do all that administrative stuff. So I just want to feed kids. So you find a sponsor, and I wanted to clarify, we have 10 multi-site unaffiliated sponsors in Minnesota. We have Success Institute, we have Youth Prize, we have lots of them, and a number of them work with Somali communities and other cultural community groups, and that does not include public schools. All public schools can provide meals to your site because they also can function as a sponsor. So you have lots of options. So, and again, lots of information, but becoming a sponsor of multiple sites, we can tell you, is the most difficult thing to do, and it will take the longest time to do. But there are other options to help bridge the gap for you to get there.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I just wrote on my notes here that for the September 21st conference, we should probably have some sort of chart about how to become a sponsor, as well as the definitions. And for those that work with me know I really like charts and to draw them, so I'm probably going to do this tonight. But there's a couple things. So the sponsor, like Monica said, is the organization that has the legal agreement with the state of Minnesota, and then the site is the actual location on the ground where the food service is. So I want to make that distinction. But being a sponsor is really difficult to do. There is a lot to follow. There is a lot of organizational pieces that need to be in place. But we are always excited to work with an organization to become a sponsor because it is so rewarding and it serves so many. So we will absolutely do that.
And just one more thing that people don't always realize, if we at MDE don't do our job, and a program or a site comes in and we didn't do our job, all the meals that were provided at that site become ineligible, and the state has to pay back all the money that came from the federal government. So the state is on the hook if we don't do our job. And as all of us being Minnesota taxpayers, it means we then all have to pay. So that's why the importance of making sure that the sponsors fully understand, fully embrace, we want you to be successful. We want to do everything possible to give you the resources and time you need to become successful, but it is not an easy thing to do.
Well, my name is Hannah. Thank you for coming, MD. We really appreciate it. We did go through a lot of confuse for the past couple of months. And thanks to Feeding Our Future. I work with Feeding Our Future. I learned a lot in the past. Right now I'm working with Sharon Russ, and I'm a chef. I cook for a living, and food is for life. The children that are going to grow from now on, the next generation, that we gotta feed them the right food. So I was doing the cooked food. I was noted, within 4 days notice, I was shut down the program. I had lots of family that I had to return from the door. That was the big confuse that I got, even to cook the food and give them back. We didn't know who to ask for. And I'm glad you guys come now to give us the answer, and we really appreciate it, because I'm from Ethiopia. As my community, honestly speaking, we have a lot of confusion because we have 5 Ethiopian Orthodox church in Minneapolis. We have 3 Christian Pentecostal church, and which they do not know about this program. That's why I invite the priest from one church, because how did they get this program? How did they become their own sponsor? How did they serve their own communities? The program should be posted on a website. We should be able to read. We should be able to see it and where we can find it, you know. Michael is my lawyer. He's been my right hand. He's been helping me on everything. I appreciate it deeply from my heart, because the state representative, Cindy, reached out to you guys. She gave me the answer. You know, I hear like you will open next week. I tell my customer, you know, Monday I'll open, and then Monday I'm not open, you know. It's like it was a huge, huge confusion. And we appreciate that. We know you guys have a pressure. We do also have a pressure as a business owner. You know, I also have a pressure from my clients, you know. So we appreciate that if we can get more educated and what to serve. We do make mistake, we understand. We apologize for the mistake that we make, you know. But it's nice we get educated also at the same time. Thank you.
That was more. Do you feel you have to say something about and respond to that? That was.
I think that's really helpful to hear, and I think the Cisco folks would probably agree with you, that in serving meals, the food industry has a huge role, but we don't have a direct relationship because the sites contract with the food vendors. You know, we didn't contract with you directly. You were contracted with a site or a sponsor. So we have arm's length, and we provide resources for how to do contracting or catered meals or the legalities of procuring food. But that we have really noticed through COVID, lots of food service management companies calling us, lots of caterers calling us, you know, asking what is going on. And so I think we do have to pay more attention to that relationship and probably bring that for-profit food industry side into more of the conversation so everybody's on the same page. Because again, that was also a big part of confusion of who we have that direct relationship with. And in many times we can't talk. If we don't have a direct relationship with somebody who calls us, we really can't be talking to them. So I think that was also another hindrance in our communication. But so I really appreciate it. And I see the Cisco people nodding their heads. So I think they also experience similar pieces.
Okay. One.
I guess I just think maybe another topic for the conference could be explaining to the sites that they're actually in privity of contract with the sponsor. And so if a site really wants to, essentially has to vet the sponsor in a way that they can trust them. And so how would they do that? Because it's that relationship that probably is responsible for any remedies in the event that something does happen between the two, and that maybe they shouldn't be peppering your telephone with those questions when in reality that's kind of a private contractual relationship with somebody that you don't necessarily have any control over. So thank you.
Thank you. And I guess okay, one more question, and then we will do one thing that most of us like to do all the time: eating. We have to eat. It's about lunchtime, and I really want to thank MDE for addressing some of the basic questions and letting us know that there is an upcoming big conference on September 21st. And before that, we will get more information, and I hope they will continue engaging the community and working with them, and we'll be working with them too. Ellie Lucas, want to thank her very much. Michael Kane, thank you very much. And everybody, I really want to thank Sharon Ross for hosting these conferences, and there will be more here, and Hannah, and all of that. So one more question, and then we will eat.
Okay. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak. I am Dr. Kate. I work with the West African, East African communities. I have few things to address today. I think I have similar situation with the last lady that talked about summer food program. One of the things I'd like you to know is we all are mostly from a different culture. I'd like you to know that there is nothing about us without us. I discovered this a few days ago when I called MDE, explaining that even though you ask children to go to sites, all these different sites to get food, that will not happen for many families. Many families I know were not like to eat food any other person cooked for them. But I know that's the model you chose. They like to make their own food and be sure what the ingredients are. One of the ladies I talked at MDE was surprised to hear that we do food program. I didn't know that frosted items have something in connection with pork. We bought some frosted cereals, wanted to distribute. No family picked that frosted cereal. They told me, no, they have pork. I didn't know. So the point I'm trying to make is, it is not acceptable for many families who are getting their food to cook for their children, and then all of a sudden they said, oh no, you are no longer going to get food in that model. You need to go to site this, site that, site A, B, C, D to get food. Many of them cannot do that because they are ashamed. Africans, they all are here. We are very strong people. We do not like anybody to feed us or even not to work for us. So even though we are here now, faced with all these challenges, I would so much like you to integrate different communities, different people when you make that decision. Right now, you can see the summer food program you are providing is not flexible. It's not even touching many of the children we are talking about, maybe a slice of it. We need to kind of look into what we do, ask people, questioning us, what do you like to see happen before you can even make it a policy is very important. Don't speak for us. We have brain. We know how to articulate our own information to you and support you. But it looks to me that you go to your office, you are making decisions for a whole African continent. Nobody is there to even challenge you or even help you to provide good program. It is not acceptable, it's not fair for us, because children cannot leave school today and begin to search for all these sites where to get food. They will not go. The parents will not take them. So try to make your program a little more flexible to get to larger community that need the food. And I'm glad you are here today to listen to us. Please help us to do a good program and serve the kids we serve.
I really want to thank you, everybody, and and we will eat, and we will have more meetings, we will have more conference, and September comes, we will have the big one, and MDE is open and accessible, and they're not gonna hide into a bunker somewhere in the middle of nowhere. I want to thank you, Emily, Monica, Elia, everybody for coming and joining us. Please, Breva Cafe lunch is here. Yeah.
So thank you for that question, and I'm sorry I don't know your name. That is a question that's been asked since the beginning of nutrition programs by different cultural groups. Believe it or not, the actual meal pattern guidelines are written into federal law. There is no compromise in it, but we can, in specific cases, look at adapting the meal pattern. So because the meal pattern is set, and I don't want to get really bureaucratic with you because I'm also not a registered dietitian, but you know, it looks at protein, it looks at dairy, it looks at fresh fruit and vegetables, and the meal pattern is based on how, you know, the portion size of those things. It doesn't mean that in different cultural communities, different foods count for those things. So we can continue the conversation. I think it's a critical conversation. We also had it with the Hmong, the Vietnamese, the Laotians, like every refugee group that's come, it's the conversation starts all over again, and it's critical, it's case by case, but we can't modify the meal pattern, but we can look at the different components of what counts for the meal pattern that might get to some of the issues you raised. So yes, we will continue the conversation and, you know, address what we can change and what we can't. Thank you for asking that.